I'm running into various camper issues again. I did get the little latches in, but there's not a lot of area to anchor to. I could put a block of wood, but the way it lines up, then there wouldn't be much anchoring for that. So I'm going to just use screws, which is kind of a good bite, but I'm going to put some liquid nail. But I'm running into other issues. One of the propane tanks started leaking at the fitting. I don't know if it was the hose or if it's something with the propane tank. So I switched over to the other hose, and then it didn't appear to leak anymore. However, the tank emptied just running the refrigerator in like 3 days. So I think it must have been a defective tank. So I went ahead, means both tanks were now empty, and got 2 new tanks. I have to say the ones I got from Fareway that I traded in didn't look like they were the best quality. They were pretty rough looking. So I traded those in here at True Value. They had the Rhino tanks, the Blue Rhino. These seem to be a bit better quality than the ones that I traded for in Iowa. So I'm gonna see how these do and see if they still leak. Because like I say, the one tank, it was leaking terribly on us. You could literally hear the gas coming out and smell it horrendously. I moved the tank over to here and then it was fine. But it emptied in 3 days. So I'm gonna hook these up and let's see what happens. So it seems fine. I don't hear gas coming out. It's on. Yeah, wide open. Don't smell gas. So, like I say, these had those protective things on it. These nozzles were clearly good. So not every tank exchange place is the same quality. Before you exchange a tank, I would look at these and just, if the tanks look like really beat up and crappy, unless you're changing a beat up and crappy tank, I would go somewhere else. Because as you can see, these Blue Rhino tanks, man, they're really good quality and they look like brand new tanks. So I don't know what they do when they refill their tanks or what they do and they just refit all their old tanks you trade in. I don't know, but definitely a better quality. So be aware of that if you're not just filling the tank and you're exchanging the tank. Be careful where you exchange the tank at. If the tank looks bad that you're getting, go somewhere else. I should have done that, but I didn't. Not a big deal. I wasted, $20 in gas, but it could be worse. There you go. That fixed that issue. I'm going to put it all back together. I'll do my little sales pitch for rotopax. I really love how these tanks mount. However, I need to Google this. Now, what I've done now, too little, too late. Well, I have to put this in. So it's cool. I have to take all this off when I go to take off the tank. That's kind of cool. It adds an extra layer of security. When you have this locked on there, you can't get this cover off. So while somebody, if they really wanted to take the tanks, they could. You can make them work for it. So by having this rotopax up here, you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone regarding you got your gas can locked on here, and it's not going to be necessarily a quick thing to get these tanks off and steal your tanks. And so that's kind of cool. Anyway, I'm going to put this all together. I got to get my key. But one of the things that I noticed, see the bulge here? This happened when I had no fuel in the tank, but I had this lid tight, and the pressure of just the fumes, residual gas in there, caused it to bulge out. And of course, while you're driving down the road, if you got gas in there, it causes a bulge out. So I'm not sure if this is what you're supposed to do, but I went ahead, being since it's got a latch, I don't think a lot of water could ever get in there, especially if the tank's empty. There's no need to, because you just dump anything out of it if you had to, I guess. Anybody, if you want to leave in the comments, let me know how to keep this from bulging. But what I did is it's got this little ratchet thing, so it's not like you can just unscrew it, but I didn't tighten this all the way. And I made sure there's just a little bit of play, so that if pressure builds under here, it can at least come out. I'm sure some gas is going to evaporate, but like I said, I don't want to ruin my tank. So if anybody's got any input on that, that would be great. But in any case, these tanks, the mounts on these tanks, I love them. I mean, it's got the slot here. You just get a simple little bracket here. They're not cheap, but this mounted on here, really easy. And then you just bring it up. Now I've got it full of gas, so it's kind of heavy. And then you screw this in, Now I got to take the lock out. Let me take the lock out real quick. And to be very clear, I'm not sponsored by rotopax or anything. I like their tank solutions, especially if you have limited areas you can attach stuff. And this works really well because it actually, when I have my generator with me, I can just use this as a gravity feed. I have to siphon it a little bit because it's got to come up and out. But then with the generator on the ground, it's a good gravity feed. Now, so what you can do is you can take this and tighten it in. And there's little knobby things. And when you get close, like right now, I'm starting to get close. So I'll just tighten it up as much as I can. And I can actually pull this back a little and then just worry about the underneath. Bring it in tight until it snaps a good fit. All right, and now I can just turn the outer one. And this is actually what's locked into little nubs on the tank. And then this, I just winch it down with this until it goes. That's about as far as I can go. And put my lock in, maybe. It's so hard to do with one hand. A lot easier to do when you take it out. Maybe. No, that doesn't work. There we go. Got my lock in. Like I said, easier to do when you only have one hand to just take it off. But there you go. It's locked, and you can't unscrew this because of how it works. Easier said than done when I got this little confined space to show you, but you get the idea. It's locked. You're not getting this tank off without taking that off. This pin holds this. So of course the screws you can't get to. Now, if somebody wanted to steal this, they could, if they had a big enough wrench. They could take this off right here. They could pull all this off, unbolt this, and take it up. They could do that, but they'd have to have the right size wrench. And this is actually pretty hard to get, surprisingly. It's especially after it's been sitting connected like this for a while, you know, it tends to get corrosion and stuff. And in other words, it wouldn't be like they could just rip it off in just a minute. They'd have to have the tools and be prepared. Now, maybe if you could figure out a way to change this out to something locking, I don't know. But yes, if somebody wanted to, they could unbolt this, pull this off, and then take everything. But I don't have it connected. There is my mount for my wireless surveillance camera, which would aim right here and get them. So in any case, it's something that would take them several minutes to do, and they would have to know what to look for. For the most part, I think it's fine. Mainly with any of this stuff, if they had a cutting tool, they could just cut the pipe and take it. It's just to deter them so that they go on to something easier. And it seems to be working, so I'm not too concerned about it. I got locks on my batteries. It would be nice to change that out with a better, like a bolt that had some kind of lock, but like I said, if they had a cutting thing, they could just cut it and take it. So the fact they'd have to have big enough socket and ratchet or a wrench to get that off is helpful. But it does definitely work as a deterrent nonetheless.